Hello, Austin, and welcome to another edition of The Beautiful Losers. I'm your host, David Castillo, and today is May the 15th on Saturday, and it's a really, really wet week and a very odd week for me. And today we're going to be talking about films that explore, I guess, some alternate realities, others a type of subjugation, mental subjugation by means of media propaganda. Another method would be just fascism, but should prove to be interesting. And I guess 2 weeks ago I did a show called 6 Films, and I showed 6 films. And this will be somewhat similar to that, in that I will show clips from these movies, but I guess a little somewhat different than that show. This one actually will show clips that prove or that show the point that I'm trying to make. One thing I do want to say, though, that since it is the 15th of May, on May 19th is Malcolm X's birthday, and actually I got his book right here. This is the autobiography of Malcolm X, and this, since we're on the topic of, I guess, alternate realities and just waking up, I guess that would be the theme, waking up, films that wake you up, films that make you think, not so much make you think, but make you actually use those brain cells, fire those neurons, and actually think about the possibility that maybe there's something else other than what you've been told. And this is somewhat also a extension of what I was talking about last week's show, when I was talking about working with people who are 25 years old and under, and just the brainwashing that I notice has been taking place, and the mindlessness and just the obsession with bands and groups, music and movies. And actually yesterday was the opening of Troy, so there'll probably be a lot of people watching that movie instead of this show. But Access is great. I love Access, and I think it's really a great opportunity to be up here and speak to y'all. And I thank you for watching the show. But what I'm saying here is that not so much criticizing the youth, but because I used to be like that. I used to be just like that, and I started also reading just this past week, because what I did want to do for this week's show was a show on King Arthur and show clips from Excalibur, because that actually is a very important film for me. It's a very good movie. But I started reading John Steinbeck's version of the Morte d'Arthur by Mallory, and it just really, I really love the idea of nobility and chivalry and honor, and this book, these tales of King Arthur and his knights, and the honor, just the dedication to and loyalty. This is something I really, really admire. And also, just recently, really when I started waking up to a lot of things was in 1999, and actually it happened a lot of it happened after I started reading the Bible, and that really opened up a lot for me. And I'm gonna try to be as brief as possible and try to get into the show, because there are quite a number of clips. But what happened was I started reading the Bible, and it really woke me up to a lot of things. And like I said before that, I was mindless and brainwashed, and what I see happening now institutions like schools, and in the workplace is that you are force-fed morality. You're force-fed to believe a certain way of thinking is correct, and the media does a really, really hard, in-your-face job of it. And I'm just going to use a little brief example because what I see happening is that people have opinions about what is right and wrong based on what they've seen and what they're told. It's not really something that they figured out for themselves, but they've been shown, okay, well this is wrong, this behavior is wrong, this type of attitude is wrong. You need to conform to the way we do it, and anytime somebody doesn't follow along and play along with that, it's called what's called politically incorrect. In 1984, it's called thought crime or crime stop, and I see this happening a lot. And like I said, it's in the institutions. I see it predominantly in the workplace. I have no doubt that it's happening in the schools, but like I said, reading the autobiography of Malcolm X helped me realize a lot. And Malcolm X is one of my personal heroes. The other would be Che Guevara. And Malcolm X's birthday is on the 19th of May, and he would have been 79. And I want to say happy birthday, Malcolm X. And I sure would have loved to have just had a conversation with Malcolm X. And Malcolm X is somebody who woke up, and he woke up with you can take a different way of getting there, and for him to wake up, it took the Nation of Islam, but he stuck to his guns and he stuck to truth, and when he realized that the Nation of Islam wasn't what it was cracked up to be, he abandoned it and just kept on with his quest. And it's just a great book. I mean, it is a really fantastic book. I kid you not. And also, like I said, John Steinbeck's version of Le Morte d'Arthur in 1984. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start by playing a clip from THX 1138. This is the movie by George Lucas. Now, 2 weeks ago, I said I hadn't seen it, and I just recently saw it, and now, I've done interpretations on films that people didn't understand, and I've looked at some films that were really kind of hard to understand and kind of got something out of it, like David Lynch's Eraserhead, which to some people who watch that might think this is just totally off the wall, makes no sense at all. And I can see that there's a story there, definitely, and in other David Lynch movies, and with Stanley Kubrick 2001. But to be honest with you, watching George Lucas THX 1138, it just seems to me he's just throwing a lot of stuff in there that just looks cool, and a lot of cool sounds, and it's a very simple story. And I think, the movie actually, which runs like 88 minutes, is based on a little short film he did at the University of Southern California, which I don't know, it was like 5 minutes long, so I guess he just really expanded it, and I guess one way to do that was to throw on these little bits and pieces that sort of just, as eye candy and sound candy. Now let's go ahead and play a clip from THX 1138.
Appears to be heading outside the city.
All I can do is note your information.
Stand by.
Come back. You have nothing to be afraid of.
The THX account is 6% over budget. The case is to be terminated.
Discontinue operation. Report to Thermal Station 62. Discontinue operation.
We have to go back. This is your last chance to return. You have nowhere to go. You cannot survive outside the shadows. We only want to help you. This is your last chance.
Now, what I get from THX 1138, and what you saw there, was from the end of the movie. And I believe that this is going to be released on DVD this year. I'm not too sure on that. Don't count on me. I'm not sure about that. I read that, and I think it's going to be released on DVD. But what I get from that movie is that Robert Duvall's character, THX 1138, lives underground in a very Orwellian-type society. They all wear white. They all have shaved heads, even the women. And they all have to be sedated. And his wife gives him medication, or she messes with his medication, and he develops a chemical imbalance. He's not thinking clearly. Yada, yada, yada. They send him to a detention center. In a detention center, he meets up with a hologram, another person who shows him the way out. From there, he begins a quest out of the underground city, and it's really just a matter of climbing up out of the city he's in. And this is what I get from it, basically, is that it's just that. And watching it, I thought, well, wouldn't it just be so awesome if it were really like that? And maybe it is, where it's just a matter of taking the obvious exit out of all the manipulation, all the lies, just seeing the exit ahead of you and just walking and just taking the courage. And he's being followed by policemen, these automaton policemen, electronic policemen, and they're at the at whatever headquarters where they're communicating with the policemen, and the message is, well, the message at the headquarters is, look, we've already spent too much time, 6% on this case, THX 1138. Forget about it. We're just in order to stay efficient, let's just let them go. And so the policeman, electronic policeman, says, this is your last chance. Turn back. And instead of listening to the policeman, he says, okay, I'm just going to keep on going ahead. And then he goes out, and there is the world, the real reality, the one he had never known before. And something to think about, I think. Little philosophical message there. Now, this next movie we're going to show, They Live by John Carpenter, the title for the show, is, I don't know if this was intentional by John Carpenter or if it was just something neat. I've heard the commentary for Prince of Darkness, and John Carpenter is a pretty good director. He does some really neat stuff. But when you listen to the commentary on Prince of Darkness, he's just talking about how, oh well, I just threw in stuff here that sounded cool. I put in these images that were kind of really creepy, and I thought I was into science, and I just threw this in here. So it could just be with They Live, which doesn't have an edited commentary, that he just threw it together and thought it was cool. That's what I kind of think. But there's something very, very profound in They Live. And we're going to show one clip, and then I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to go back to another clip. Let's go ahead and show that first clip, please.
And you've always thought you couldn't dare press on nails because of all the active things you do? Well, if you're ready for beautiful, natural-looking, easy-to-apply nails, pre-colored in 7 luscious hues, just...
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
Oh, goddamn hacker, that second damn night that asshole's cut in.
The movement was begun 8 months ago by a small group of scientists who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent through...
Things giving me a headache. Yeah, tell me about it. Us took the hackers months to figure out how to do this.
The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
They're pulling the water out of the sand like sponges.
Blow it out your ass.
Yeah. No, they continue to make
All right. They Live, like I mentioned before, I think has a really profound message. There is a message from a group, a man. There's something kind of weird going on with that preacher that you see simultaneously in sync, talking, saying the same thing that's on the television transmission. And the transmission, of course, the message is very important, that it's a warning. You don't really know exactly what he's talking about, because this is at the very beginning of the movie. This next clip, when the main character, played by Rowdy Piper, when he puts on the glasses, he starts seeing things as they really are. Let's play this clip.
what's your problem? I said, what's your problem? How are you today, sir? Okay, how's it going? Fine, thank you. Thank you, sir. Here you are, sir. Thank you. Hey, buddy. You gonna pay for that or what? Look, buddy, I don't want no hassle today. Either pay for it or put it back.
Okay. Like I said, I think that this movie is very profound. I mean, I think I think that personally there was a lot of potential for a whole lot more in that movie. But John Carpenter isn't one to really go all out in details. I mean, if it just looks good, if it's shocking, if he can he can do that thing he does, I mean, that's enough for him, and that really works. I mean, that is John Carpenter. That works well. But one thing I should explain is what this movie is about. This movie is about aliens who come to planet Earth, and they have sent out a transmission from going on top of a television network, and through this transmission, through the signal, they are blocking their grotesque faces, their visages. They actually look like when Roddy Piper puts on the glasses, he can block out that transmission, see them for what they are, and he can see throughout the various signs, billboards, magazines, money, what the hidden message is that the aliens are through subliminal messages are trying to keep people asleep and sedated, just like the message that we saw from the first clip mentioned, because there is an underground movement that knows what is going on, and Roddy Piper has just come across these glasses that by accident, and he can see what's going on. And the reason I say this is profound, because I think that this is not far from the truth. When you wake up and you start realizing things, like I mentioned before at the beginning of the show, with institutions like work and school and thought crime, 1984, and just an indoctrination in a way of thought. There isn't any independent thought. He put on the glasses and he looked on the sign and said, "No independent thought." No independent thought is not encouraged. But then again, what do you see when he looks at the money? It says, "This is your God." So that I don't think that's very far from the truth, because you look at the sign, it says no independent thought. You're not encouraged to think for yourself, but when it comes to thinking for yourself and being greedy and pursuing money, that is encouraged. And that's not really far from the way things are now. And the next clip I'm going to show talks about how people will sell out their own species for a piece of the action, traders basically. But what I want to stress is that anytime you read a magazine or look at a television broadcast, read something, lately there has been a type of message in there really aimed at changing the way you think. I really started noticing this when like I said, I started reading the Bible, and I started reading the way things were, and then I started watching all of these like Christian programs, they talked about Jesus, and I noticed that they were really biased. I thought, well, that's not really what it says. They're really changing the meaning so they can make this other point that is nowhere to be found. And then I started seeing other things, and then I started realizing, well, that's all the news basically is. Because before I was, like I said, when I was mindless, I thought, okay, well, I just believe anything. And there's a sense, there's an idea, and probably you know it too, that the news is all lies and all a bunch of bull. But when you actually, come to more of the truth, and then you see it, that that all the news from the major stations, what it basically boils down to is propaganda and trying to make you think a certain way. Because I don't know how many times people have said, "Oh, did you watch this show? Oh, I never knew that this was the way things were." And I thought, well, that's not how they are. That's the way they said it was. And like I said, this movie isn't far from the truth, because all the media that are out there basically push this agenda, and you're really in war institutions. They're all hand in hand. Play along with this. Don't think for yourself. If this type of behavior is bad, not because you realize it for yourself that it's bad, but because we say it is, and that really is the way things are. And one of the things that I've noticed in these different movies that I'm going to show is the reliance on media to promote propaganda. I mean, it's in 1994, the telescreen, THX 1138. It's in Fahrenheit 451, which we're going to watch later. Let's go ahead and play this clip from the last clip from They Live.